Welcome. This is the first episode of the Real Estate Boss Podcast. Super excited. Look at this guy's guns over here. We have one of my favorite humans on the internet, which I hope we start talking about later.
I love the internet.
George Beatty.
Yeah. Beatty.
Beatty.
Yes. Draw the line in the sand. It's all right. It happens.
George Beatty. He
Yes,
is the owner of PA. Is the company called PA Off Market?
PA Off Market / Problem Property Pals / whatever.
Lots of things.
Yeah.
So very successful guy. I met you first time about 5 years ago or so.
Probably about 5 years ago. Yeah.
I think you were just getting into real estate, and now he's grown to doing a wholesaling business, which I don't know. There's very few people I know doing a wholesaling business that's over 100 transactions a year, several $1 million in volume. He's written an Amazon best-selling book called Hustling from Heroin to Houses. Is
yes,
that
sir.
correct?
That is correct.
He's spoken at a NASDAQ conference, the Business Accelerator Conference. So he's really grown the past 5 years. Very excited to have him on your show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be
And he also enjoys cycling, jiu-jitsu,
I do.
and picking fights on the internet.
I do. Oh, you remembered all that stuff, didn't you?
I do. I remember that because I see your post. I saw your post yesterday about. It's either about hoagies or pizza, basically.
Yeah. A quick word on that.
Sure.
I'm on a mission from God to find out the best food in Philadelphia, who makes the best food, where it's from, why is it the best, and having fucking dope. Can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, you can.
Great.
Swear.
Having fucking dope parties to find out. So the last party we did was called Pizza Bowl. I think that you were there.
I
You
don't know if
blew
I
off
made
my
it to
party.
that.
It's okay. It happens. So we ordered pizza from like 15 different places. We had all this booze, all this food. We had a ton of people show up. We just kind of like vote on who had the best pizza. We're gonna do Sandwich Bowl coming up in like probably September. So keep your eyes out for a date for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will not blow you off again.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
So let's get into just start talking. Let's discuss like how did you get into real estate? If you're curious about his past, I'm sure there's a lot of in your book they can learn a lot about your past. But we'll talk about the transition, getting into real estate. I know you had a sales position.
Yeah,
before.
how I got in. So little Reader's Digest version of my life. I woke up in a holding cell when I was 22, wondering whether or why I couldn't stop doing heroin. And I had a pretty significant drug problem, criminal record. I got a sales job, but like a big story of my life is like I didn't feel like I was ever going to get offered a real opportunity working for somebody else. Don't have a college degree, kind of a bootstrappy-ish guy. Like, I've had a lot of luck in my life. But yeah, so I had a sales job. I was selling windows and siding for a very large local windows and siding company. And that company used what are called step selling principles, direct sales principles. Okay. And I met a guy at a diner. Well, long story short, I got passed over for a promotion that I thought I deserved at the windows and siding company. And at that point, I was like, well, I don't know if this is going to work out for me long term. Again, history of drugs and crime. I don't think I'm going to get promoted here. I'm going to end up having to find something else. And while I was having those thoughts, I met a guy at a diner with friends and was just like, hey man, what do you do for a living? Normal conversation just like this. And he was like, I flip houses and I wholesale real estate. And I was like, what's wholesale and real estate? I've never heard of that before. And he told me, and I leaned in and I said, Dan, how do you get someone to sell you their house for 35% of what it's worth? And he told me, and I was like, I'd be really fucking good at that. It's what I'm doing to sell windows, and I'm really good at selling windows, or pretty good at least. And I don't think anyone can do what I do in this industry. And we had lunch after that, and we partnered up for a few years. And Jan would generate the leads, and I would run the leads. And I closed 4 out of my first 5 leads that I ran.
Wow.
Which is like unheard of in real estate. Usually you have to run 10 or 20 leads to get one, and I'm like bang, bang, bang. And I looked myself in the mirror and I said to myself, if I make $60,000, because these are just contracts. I didn't know if they were going to settle, you know what I mean? These are just like written contracts. So I said to myself, if I make $60,000 in the next 3 months total, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go all in real estate. I'm never going to look back. And I made like $61,000.
Wow.
Or like $60,500. It was like literally right over the line. And I was like, all right, this is a sign from God or whatever. But like, sorry, that was a really loud sign. But by God, I'm fucking going for it. And I quit my job. And
that's your first 3 months with Diamond Equity.
Yeah, that was my first 3 months doing that. So at the time, quote, Diamond Equity was like Dan.
Okay.
And like sort of this other guy, and like sort of me. And
because he was still living in Philly at the time, right?
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. I mean, if you, yeah. So the story of Diamond Equity Investments, which nobody asks me very often, frankly. Dan, when I met Dan, Dan Breslin, you should look him up. Really sharp guy, owns another really big wholesaling company. Excellent lead generation. Dan was like living in a 1-bedroom apartment above his office, and then when Dan moved out of that office and out of that apartment, I moved into, incidentally. But yeah, Dan's like dream was to like move to Chicago and like be with his daughter. And through us working together, he was able to like accomplish that goal with him handling lead generation, and then me handling like closing leads and like doing the title stuff and that. And that partnership between us for a while, like, and we would just split everything down the middle, like just you generate leads, you do the sales and all the stuff. We just straight up split. And it just kind of like took off, like, we really complementary skill sets in a lot of ways. And as time moved on, like our visions for what we wanted were very different at some point. But that turned out to be like a quite a lucrative arrangement for me, and quite a lucrative arrangement for him as well.
Right. And to give you guys context, so they would hold a meetup group every month in Manayunk called, was it WHIP?
Ring. Real Estate Investors Networking Group.
Right, and that was for several years in, 14, 15, 16, 17, somewhere.
Yeah,
15, 16,
I ran
17.
my first lead October of 2014. I think Dan had just started running that meeting a few months prior.
Gotcha.
So, we were like, two fish in water when we met. So, that was right about that time. I think it's about right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And your main, I guess, like day to day was he'd be doing lead generation. You're going out on appointments day after day, locking up contracts, and then you probably had admin people that are taking it. Oh no. Okay.
No, when it started, when I say it was like me and Dan, and
really was. Okay.
it there was another guy that was Dan would sort of work with here and there, but that never was meaningful in the same way. It just wasn't. But no, we would Dan would send a letter. The letter said, we buy houses as is. Same thing fucking everybody's letter says. And a seller would call into Pat Live. I'm sure you've heard of Pat Live. If not, Google it. They're huge in the real estate investment space. Pat Live took the phone call, asked them 5 questions, and then would send an email. Dan forwarded me the email with the seller that had their phone number, the notes from the call, and I would reach out, talk to them, qualify them, schmooze them a little bit, and then set them into my own calendar. So, and then I was basically in my car talking to people on the, driving to Pottstown, driving to North Philly, driving to Bucks County all day, and pretty much 6 or 7 days a week. So I would do that, and I would make offers to people on the phone all day, try to take notes on my phone, very disorganized, but which is not like we are now at all. But so all my time at that time was spent talking to clients, or potential clients, closing them, and then doing all the transaction coordination. So getting payoffs, getting this, sending this, and sending that, and doing all that stuff.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a ton of fucking work. And so the first year, maybe year and a half, it was we did all of our own work. So I sold. Oh yeah, and I also sold all my own deals to buyers. So, if we would put something on the MLS, or we would send out a thing, so my phone basically was ringing 24/7 with sellers returning my call, which were important, so those I would answer, or 50 buyers calling me trying to get into a property, and this and that and the other thing. And, we had some other relationships that would handle some of those loads, but basically I did every portion of that business except for sending mail. After, I don't know, a year, I started doing data stuff. I started getting data and schmoozing my way into different places to get the good stuff, so to speak. But yeah, that's what I was doing everything. So yeah.
And so I guess let's take a step back for maybe a second, because I feel like not everybody who's listening to this may not know exactly what wholesaling is. What is because you see most people find out about it looking on YouTube videos.
Yeah.
They think it's a get rich quick, like, oh, I can flip a house and make 10 grand or 50
Yeah,
grand.
you can without any money or credit.
So what is it? Like what, or can you give a maybe definition how you see it?
Wholesaling, broad strokes, is middlemanning a property differently than a real estate agent does by middlemanning the right to buy a property for a certain amount of money. The key is if that certain amount of money is low enough and it's a excellent deal, Rodney would buy that property from me at still a good deal. And the difference between an excellent deal and a good deal is 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 grand. That's your money as a wholesaler, which you get to keep.
Gotcha.
A little bit more dialed in, it's a sales and marketing effort where you're marketing and selling to sellers that you're the best person for them to sell their house to, as is quick for cash,
right,
or whatever. But what the get rich quick side of it is, like, people are like, oh, I can flip this house and make all this money without any money or credit. Yes, you can, but you have to understand it is hard. Otherwise, everyone would do it, and it can be very expensive generating leads.
Yeah.
And getting people to call you, especially in an extremely competitive real estate market like Philly, and especially in a competitive real estate market like 2019 in the United States of America in general, because capital is cheap and the economy has been strong for an extended period of time.
And everybody's trying to do it.
Yeah.
So that's a good transition into, so I guess your business today, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing over 100 transactions a year, and areas, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Are you still in a lot of areas? Philadelphia it's so competitive. Are you in Philly, Delco, Bucks, Montgomery?
Yeah, so
further out.
Sure.
Right?
So we cover the Philadelphia 5-county area.
Okay.
We will do deals in any part of those areas except for very, very western Chester County, like past like Kennett Square, past Chadds Ford, like farther. It's just too far away. And like Bucks County, like north of Doylestown, it's just like too far away.
Yep.
But we can do deals there. I market essentially within 25 miles of Philadelphia is like my major marketing zone, but that's also where the major population centers are. So like we do market in Pottstown, we do market in a little bit in Doylestown area, but for the most part, the lion's share of our marketing is within 25 miles of Philadelphia and in the city. Most people probably want to hear more about Philadelphia than they do about the suburbs. The suburbs is like basically one big giant region where all the same things are true and all the same marketing techniques are like pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Philadelphia, where you have all these niche neighborhoods and like little mini economies and things like that. West Philly is its own thing. It's much different than it is in South Philly and West Philly. It's much different.
In what way? Like, are people responding differently?
Whereas there's still row homes built between 1900 and 1940 or 1950, whatever the number, you probably know better than me. Yeah. And like some of the rental numbers are the same. Like in South Philly, especially south of Washington, pretty much anywhere, the level of heat is dramatically higher. The level of competition is dramatically higher than it is in West Philly. Ultimately, as a developer, as a flipper, like you're making a percentage play on your money. It's, if ARV is 100%, the lower the percentage you can be all in at, the better. Right. So, we know that we're selling to you at 80%, 70%, whatever that number is. And those percentages that people will buy at are typically higher in West Philly. But long story short, I do not really market in Point Breeze almost at all.
Because it's oversaturated. Would you say that, I'm sure Point Breeze is probably the hottest of what?
It's one of the hottest.
One of the hottest, but
yeah.
You mentioned like West Philly, like the activity in West Philly, the competition in West Philly. Is Philly, I'm right in assuming Philly as a whole is much greater demand broadly than all these suburban regions, or are there?
Neighborhood dependent, yes.
Okay.
If you look at the actual data, housing prices generally have stabilized for the most part across the Philadelphia region. And in some of your hotter neighborhoods, Point Breeze, Kensington, Fishtown, are actually coming down by like half of a percentage point, which is pretty much just being stable.
Right.
But that's, I think generally what we're seeing is ARV today is the same as what after repair value is the same today as it was 6 months or a year ago for most of the city.
Which is good. It hasn't been that way for a little while. Right?
No, it hasn't. From a wholesaling perspective, I want it to be rising very rapidly.
Yeah.
Right. So, you asked about Point Breeze. So Point Breeze specifically has an interesting mix of an extreme level of competition because it's gotten a lot of press, i.e. other wholesalers, other developers, other flippers. It also has sellers being very educated about value because so many people are selling. And with that comes sellers being aggressive about pricing because developers have been aggressive about pricing. But the market itself, which normally is fine, but the market itself is softening. So ARV in Point Breeze used to be, let's say 300,000, 250.
Right.
Now it's 200, 250, or whatever it is. It's the same or drop. Those sellers are still basing their asking price upon a 7 to 10% increase annually, which is 10 or 15 grand more per year. It's a lot of money. So as a wholesaler, if it is rising by 15% a year, 7% a year, you're making that $15,000 spread. The seller says, I want 90 grand, and you're just like, okay, here you go.
So is it I'm assuming, knowing that, are you seeing more difficulty like when you're setting up appointments and you're meeting, maybe not just, I'm sure in Point Breeze, but people are still, they've got the, my 2-story shell on the 19 block of Titan is worth $195.
Oh, you ran that lead too? Yeah. Yeah. So to be fair, that's an issue everywhere. People having overinflated sense of value. But like when we got down, when we really when I really got into some of the numbers, like we were making $8,000 to $15,000 per property in Point Breeze, but we were making like $35,000 per property in parts of Nantua or like Westover Lane. So like, why would I
spend more money?
Why would I spend more money with more competition for a lower payoff?
Wow.
Right? So we do market there, but like I don't specifically point out on a map and say I want to fucking hit that spot.
Yeah.
Which when I do say I want to hit that spot, it becomes a meaningful portion of our lead flow.
Okay.
So for instance, areas that are my spot right now, West Philly, north of Market, really out to like, let's say 56th Street.
Okay.
And east and north to, I want to say Westminster, but realistically it's more like Girard.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
we're hitting that area very hard, and frankly, we've had a lot of trouble selling properties for what I think. We've written up 4 or 5 contracts that I was convinced we were going to make between 10 and 15 grand on, and they did not sell at all, though they had substantial structural problems, which sometimes is hard for a sales guy to see. I think we're actively engaged in negotiation.
Right. On one.
Also, yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we're not what we're talking about here. Somebody else handles the negotiations with buyers now, so I don't know everything that's going on with that, but I know that anyway.
I'm trying to buy one of his houses.
Yeah, trying to buy
in our area, which is Belmont and Parkside.
Right, yeah.
Belmont,
we are heavy in Belmont right now.
Awesome.
So Belmont, we are doing equity mailings, which is basically if you've owned the house longer than 15 years, you're getting a letter, or longer than maybe 10 years out there. Basically pre-gentrification. If you've owned your house since before it was gentrifying, you're getting a letter.
Okay.
We're doing flyer distribution, heavy Facebook targeting, and I think also like more specific targeting with higher value pieces, i.e. we're sending them more letters.
Okay.
And also possibly do cold calling, but we scrape against the DNC and that makes
eliminates almost everybody.
Yeah, it makes it almost ineffective, yeah.
So to give people an idea, like between the Facebook marketing, letters, mailers, all the follow-up, how much do you think you're spending, I don't know, monthly on marketing?
My budget is $60,000 a month. I end up spending $80,000 a month every month.
Wow.
The most recent mail campaign I put together 2 days ago is 126,000 people, which we'll mail over the course of probably about 6 weeks. So that's a large letter. We also distribute.
And that's probably what, 50 cents, 75 cents?
About 50. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a serious.
Yeah, that's a serious chunk. So we all, in addition to that, we'll distribute 60,000 flyers on people's doors per month. And I think we're still doing a postcard campaign, which is probably trickling out right about now. But this July, with last month's stuff wrapping, we'll probably do realistically about 150 to 170,000 touches on properties in the greater Philadelphia area, not including Facebook impressions and Google impressions. So the amount of mailing that I forgot whether we did or not, between 150 and 170, is more than most people are marketing in a month. So literally what I fucking spill is more than you drink. Bang! Sorry, I don't drink anymore, but I wanted to flex on everyone a little bit. So.
Just hopefully that gives you guys an idea. Like, it's not as easy as it sounds.
It's not
really
as easy to do over 100 transactions with the profit margins we do with the average sale. Our average assignment fee this year is $26,000. It was $18,000 last year.
Wow.
That's our average assignment fee. The average fee that we get net into the company after we pay real estate agents and costs. Well, after we pay sale associated costs.
Right. Like JVing or
JV.
real estate.
We do very few JV deals,
Okay.
but yeah, it's 26K. Most guys are doing deals that are between 5 and 7.
Yeah. So you're super highly specialized, and I'm sure it's not something you can learn overnight. Like, you have to be negotiating and know your values. You're covering a huge. A lot of people are like, oh, I know this part of West Philly or this point of South. I know Point Breeze or percent, whatever. But
right.
if you're getting that and you're covering this area, that says a lot.
Yeah, we're very good. Everyone that I work with is excellent.
Awesome. How big is your team, by the way?
I think 10 people.
Okay.
We're actively hiring for appointment setters, which is like entry level sales now. Pretty much all the time we're hiring for that.
Cool.
We have a number of people that are outside vendors that work for us. We have some cold callers. We have some, which has not worked very well. I do not recommend that as a lead generation tactic.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, cold calling. I'm like, you can do it, but it's fucking good luck.
It's 1 out of like 100.
1 out of 100? Oh my god, if I could get 1 out of 100, I'd be so rich. I'd be so rich. Yeah.
Maybe 1 out of 100 contacts, maybe?
We get a lead, we get a decent lead, like an actual, like, oh, this is an as-is seller for every like 30,000 calls we make.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So then that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, it's not.
That's far off.
I committed to try it out for 6 months, so we're in the middle of trying it out, but it's likely not going to perform for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think that wholesalers are? There's so many more people in the market trying to wholesale houses and make a quick dollar in the market. What do you think that most people are doing wrong these days? I see a couple things that I can mention myself, but I don't think I would. Who knows what the numbers are, but I feel like it's probably 1 out of every like 10 people.
It's probably less than that.
Less than that.
Yeah.
They go give it a shot and it doesn't work, and they offer so much money, or they're sending out somebody else's deal.
Consistency. Yeah.
So what do you think they're doing? Yeah.
It's the same reason that people they go on a new diet every month and they never stick with it. It's because if they don't see results immediately and get rich quick, it's not for them. It didn't work. Right. Yes, I made 60 grand in my first 3 months of wholesaling, but I also read a sales book every 2 months for the first 4 years I was sober. I, had relationships suffer because of my sales training. I got home at midnight from work and I worked so fucking hard to get good at stuff and be a person that was good at things to set myself up to do well in this industry. And once I got into the industry, I didn't quit. I still study. I still learn. I listen to a book on tape on the way to work. I meditate. I journal. You know what I mean? So, the fastest way between point A and point B is not a straight line. It is consistency, right? It's never a straight line. It's consistently moving along that path of productivity.
Right.
So, when I see a John Smith that posts, I have 30 houses under contract right now, and I've never heard of them, and they don't work for New Western. Because there's always the New Western guy being like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm like, okay, whatever.
No comment on that.
So, those guys, they disappear, or you never saw them say, I have 2 houses under contract, I had 3 houses under contract, I had 4 houses. If you are looking to get rich quick, you are not going to get rich, and you are not going to be quick at anything except for quitting. But what I see people do wrong is not paying attention to the basics, trying to look for somebody's, fancy technique, asking what kind of LLC I have, what does my paperwork say? None of that stuff matters unless you are generating leads and closing the leads. And in order to close the leads, you have to know what the comps are, right? So if you want the pillars of the trifecta, the foundation of wholesaling, it's lead generation, sales, and construction and comp appraisal knowledge. Yeah. Which unfortunately, while it is one of the lower, it's lower on the line of importance, it's one of the hardest. So for development, the most important thing is that you buy right, but the hardest thing is construction. Yeah. Right?
It takes years, man. I mean, I don't know, that between that big project and almost, I think we're at about maybe 15 other places that we bought. I only feel like I just now, I've gotten better, but it takes a long time to be able to walk into a place and then okay.
It's not a get rich quick thing.
Right.
Lo and behold.
And a lot of hours. Same thing.
Yeah, a lot of hours.
They never see the. I'm the opposite. I get up at super early and go to bed at 9 o'clock, but I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there.
I was up at 5:30 and that was early.
I just have it, but it takes a long time.
Yeah,
really long time, and it's very hard. That's the hardest to learn, but the most important. If you can confidently walk into a place and know that.
You know, if I can re-answer that question,
Sure.
The number one thing that I see people doing wrong in wholesaling today is taking advice from people that are not successful, or they're taking advice from people that are not successful at wholesaling. They're taking advice from some guru at a thing that, fuck it. The guys teaching a lot of the guru things in Philly are fucking losers, and they're teaching at the guru thing because they sucked at everything else except for scamming newbies out of their whatever, right? So, you know, you run into a guy that says, yeah, just look at Zillow to figure out what the cash comps are in whatever neighborhood, and you meet somebody that spends their entire life savings of $500 or $1,000 on their marketing budget,
or much more than that,
and they wasted all of their time taking advice from somebody that like didn't actually know what they're doing. So unfortunately in this industry, it's very hard to get hard proof from someone that they're doing something. For instance, I can run around and say that I'm the biggest wholesaler in Philadelphia, which I'm fairly confident that I am, but I don't know that for a fact because nobody publishes numbers. Like, you haven't seen my balance sheet. Maybe I do more revenue than everybody else, but maybe I actually lose money every month. Like, you don't know. I mean, I have lost money over months like that, and then the next month's great, you know. But that happens, right? You know, and you don't see that. So,
and none of it's on. I'm sorry, most of it is probably not on the MLS. You may have to list some things. Actually, none of it's on the MLS because
ours.
Or I mean, I know you list properties on the MLS, but even if there's a realtor sale, you don't know how much. You see the realtor's commission on the MLS. You have no idea how much you have it under contract for, or how much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not trackable.
On our deals, it's not trackable. You would have to see my balance sheet in order to see it. Okay. If you are taking it, here's something. If you are taking advice from a wholesaler that does not have a balance sheet that they get from an accountant every month, don't take advice from them. I think that's good, right? Like,
you gotta
having a balance sheet, accounting.
How much money did I make, and how much money did I spend, and
all that stuff, But that's the number one thing that I see people doing wrong is taking advice from people that don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Here's a good one. If you had, say, I don't know, your whole team quit, someone stole all your money from you.
Ooh, I've had to think about this before. What
Start
if I
from $0? What would you do?
All my loot in Kensington.
Exactly. Where would you start? Would you?
After I was done crying. How would I start? With no marketing budget or like $1,000?
Say $1,000. Most people, I think, can be resourceful.
$1,000.
Because I feel like a lot of people are going to be, they only have $1,000 or nothing to market.
I would knock on doors. If I started with no money, I did not have a time limit, because if you have a time limit,
No time limit.
I would go to West Philly or deep South Philly, like deep 19148, or West Kensington, somewhere that I knew was like hot, and I would knock on every door in that neighborhood twice a week, where I would just rotate it, and for 4 or 5 hours a day, I'd knock up and I would say, hey, my name's George, I'm a local real estate investor, and like I just inherited a bunch of money, and I have to like my accountant told me I like had to buy a house, and I heard this area was really good. Like, do you know anyone who wants to sell? And obviously I didn't inherit a bunch of money. Well, maybe not, obviously.
Very good script there.
But and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, my aunt such and such, and you're gonna get leads. And assuming I have a phone, I would call them and fucking finagle my way into the house and make it work and print some shit out Kinko's. If I was on a time limit, I would get a list of sheriff sales or tax delinquents, and I would knock up on all the doors in the city, regardless of what they were, assuming I had a car.
Interesting.
But I would not. I like mail is expensive, and if you're not doing it at scale, like the letter that I send would normally cost most people about $1 a piece to send, but because I'm sending so many, it's like half the price. So why the fuck wouldn't I send it? But not everybody can do that. But knocking on doors is the cheapest, most effective way of like getting leads. That's what I would do.
That's a good answer. Yeah, because mail, I mean, you probably need to be consistent at it for at least 6 months to really start seeing.
I think a minimum of 2 mailings. Sometimes you can get lucky and do 1, but if you're not doing it with consistency, you're not doing it. Yeah, you're gonna lose your, like, I would rather send 100 people the same piece 5 times than 500 people the same piece once.
That makes sense. They're gonna recognition and see you.
Better make sure your list is good.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thinking here, is there anything else I should have asked that you want to talk about, either about your business or
I mean,
what
look,
areas you're focusing on?
Right now, is there anything you want to know? I'll talk about myself and my business all day long, but I really don't know what like other people want to know. Like, so you're a guy that's doing, you know, you're not a whale yet, as they say in the industry, but you're definitely not like a small fish anymore.
Right.
So for where you're at, you've got some construction, you've got some capital, you've got some deal flow, you have some recognition. What like?
I just love another question.
Yeah. What do you need for your next level? Like.
So for me, totally. I just talked about this with my partner Steph yesterday. Like, I'm at this middle zone where I'm not sure if I want to be. I'm tired of taking buyers out and showing them in houses.
What? You're still doing that?
So like, I'm selling. I don't live off all the investments that we make in a big project that I'm doing and all that. Yeah. All that income is put aside. Like, I'm not living off any of that. The money gets reinvested in the next thing.
So you're a realtor by day, investor by night.
Exactly, realtor by day, investor by night, literally. So it's like 2 full-time jobs right now. We do manage a lot of our construction still. We have, I call it's almost more like a project management agreement with the contractor, but we're still buying materials and out there several times a week and all that. So I'm wearing both of these hats, and I'm like, one of them has got to slow down a little bit.
Right.
And so the 2 things that I'm working on that I intend to do by the end of this year is like leveraging a little bit on the real estate side, getting a buyer's agent. Second, getting in-office appointments is like fine. I just don't want to taking people out and showing them how to take a lot of my time.
Yeah.
So that's the one major thing with the sales side. On the investment end, I want to scale up because we bought most of the stuff. It's all 1 to 4 unit. It's like maybe like 3 or 4, like 30-40% singles. The rest of them duplexes, triplexes.
Right.
And so I just want to scale.
So you want more generally single family assets, or
no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, multifamily assets. And we haven't. I've had people come and say, "Hey, look, I have $100,000. Can we jump in with you and do something?" I have not done that yet because we've been like, we're slow, steady, trying to go slow, steady. But I've been looking more recently at things like I was almost in play, I should say, for this development opportunity in Point Breeze, where I could have built like 20 triplexes had we gotten this lot. Didn't work out. Someone came and offered a lot of cash, and I don't have that. So, but we want to look at and tackle like 5 to 20 unit buildings.
5 to 20 units is in no man's land, which you should be able to get.
Yeah. So it's only been recently we're like, okay, things are starting to get more competitive in 1 to 4. It still makes sense, and we're still doing the ones we have, but doing a little bit bigger, and that way I can say, hey, you have $200,000. We'll give whatever makes sense. You be part owner. We'll still manage the project. That's what we're looking at.
Sure. I would make a list of every single 5 to 20 unit property in the city. Mm-hmm. You can probably pull that out of the MLS.
Easy.
Yeah. And then I would also get a list of every lot or warehouse or
rehab too. That really calls out to me. I love to rehab something.
Also falls into that ability to do, which is probably what? 2,500 square feet to 10,000 square feet.
Yep.
Right? Something. Or 8,000, whatever.
3,000, 10,000, right around there. Yeah.
I would get a list of all those in Excel, which you can get out of the MLS very easily. Mm-hmm. And then I would start crossing off ones that obviously developers bought recently, or obviously like just probably aren't a good fit for you, don't need any work, or whatever. And from that core list of properties, you're probably going to be left with a couple of thousand. And from there, you'll have clarity as to how many opportunities are there, which ones do I want, how do I want to go after them, who owns them. Because if there's a specific house that you want, like when you're buying property from the city or whomever was selling that lot, like how do I, people ask me all the time, George, this guy asked me this morning, 2300 Delancey, how would I get this property? It was like, well, you know the lady's name, like do you just make her an offer? like what I do is I find the lady. So, or get her to call me. So if you know the brick of people that you want to call you, that's like more than 50% of the game right there is knowing who you're talking to. And from there you can hire an intern that you get from your podcast or a new agent to say, hey, reach out to all these people. These are all the properties.
That's a really good point because I've never really I used to be with Streamline in South Philly for a little bit, and they were great at skip tracing. Like they had what do you call LexisNexis and all the whole system and all that.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that right now. Like I don't know what you're
You
using.
don't need LexisNexis.
Is it easier to find people these days? Am I looking them up on Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, all that stuff. So here's if you know that you want a specific parcel,
Sure.
Yeah, skip tracing, find their Facebook, find their relatives, hire a private investigator. Like I have a private investigator in Florida that
Right.
can do that stuff for like no money, which is amazing.
At scale, or
She does it for like $2 a name. She'll fucking find if they're dead, what who their heirs are. Yeah, it's insane. We don't make a lot of use of that because skip tracing is a lot of work, and that's not our business model. Our business model is marketing, get people to call us, field those calls, sell those people.
Right.
Like I don't go after that building that we can see out there. I go after, regular people that fit into my sales box. It's my business, right? Like if I was buying stuff to develop it, I would go about it totally different.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I'm kind of doing the opposite, which is I drive around West Philly and parts and I'm like, oh my
you can get
god.
most of that stuff from the internet and say, oh, these are all the vacant houses that are in this whole neighborhood. Oh, these are all the houses that need work. It's all on the internet. Stepwise, go to trystepwise.com.
Try Stepwise.
Yeah, Stacy Mosley, she'll hook you right up. She'll tell you every property that needs work in the city.
All right.
Okay. Also remind me after we get off, I'll refer you to my private investigator person. She's very effective for us.
Thank you.
But yeah, so if you have the list of the stuff, she'll just get the report from her for LexisNexis. But like if you know the parcels that you want, now you don't have to just say to some agent, hey, I like 5 to 20 units.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, oh, the Smith property.
Right.
Yeah, but like if that's really what you want to do, like you need to have clarity and go about it with intention. Otherwise, you're just like putting out in the universe, which can work. But if you're, that's what I would do.
Well, I'm going to take some of that advice.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we covered a lot here. Maybe next time I'll work up to the point of doing one of these live, and that way if people have questions, they can maybe call in and ask. That'd be really cool.
Oh, a call in, that would be fun.
That would be so fun. I would definitely, maybe in like 6 months or something, we're there. So, well, thank you so much for sharing. We covered a lot here. I hope that you guys found value here. And how can people get in touch with you? That's the last thing.
Please don't.
All right, perfect.
You can check.
I was fine to end it right now.
That's fine. Yeah. If you're doing if you have completed and gotten paid for more than 5 wholesale deals and you're looking to scale, grow, increase the amount of money you get per deal, build a real business, make some real money, and see how we do what we do, you can reach out to me at my website. It's George Beatty, it's my name.com. Fill out a contact me form and I'll either ignore your email or call you. We'll see. Come with the king, you best not miss, as Omar Little said at The Wire. And if not, then please Google how to wholesale houses, and eventually if you do some deals, reach out to me. But yeah. Awesome. Or PAOffmarket.com. PAOffmarket.com to buy my shit.
All right. Thank you. Catch you on the next one.
Yep.
All right. That was good.